You know, when people look back on a year like this, most of them want to polish it up, make it look better than it really was. They post the highlights, the wins, the moments that make them feel good, but that's not how real growth works. If you're serious about changing anything in your life, you've got to be willing to look at the whole picture, not just the parts that flatter you. I'm talking about the mistakes, the bad calls, the times you knew better and did it anyway, especially those moments. 2025 wasn't perfect for anybody. I don't care who you are or what you show online. There were plans that didn't work, people who let you down, maybe even times you let yourself down. And the worst thing you can do is lie about it, even if the only person you're lying to is the one in the mirror. I learned a long time ago that denial feels good for a minute, but it costs you years. Truth hurts, but it teaches. And if you don't learn, you repeat. Looking back without sugarcoating, it takes guts. It means admitting you were wrong, not blaming the timing, not blaming other people, not blaming the world. It means saying, I did this, I chose that, I ignored the signs. That's not weakness, that's ownership. And ownership is the only place where power lives. The second you stop making excuses, you start taking control. A lot of people end the year saying, next year's going to be different, but they never stop to ask why this year turned out the way it did. Patterns don't disappear on January 1st. They follow you. If you don't face them now, they'll be sitting there waiting for you in the new year. Same problems, different calendar. The point of looking back isn't to beat yourself up. It's to get smarter. It's to connect the dots between your choices and your outcomes. You've got to ask yourself some hard questions. Where did I ignore my instincts? Who did I trust that didn't earn it? When did I take the easy road instead of the right one? And just as important, where did I show strength? Where did I stand my ground? Because it's not all bad, and pretending it is doesn't help either. Balance matters. Truth matters. I've seen what happens when people refuse to face reality. They get stuck. Same stories, same complaints, same regrets year after year. And I've seen what happens when someone finally gets honest. Not loud honest, not dramatic honest, quiet honest. That's when things start to change. That's when discipline replaces excuses. That's when you get serious about who you are and where you're going. So before you rush into what's next, take a real look at what was, because the truth you face today is the strength you carry into tomorrow. Let me tell you something people don't like to hear, but they need to. Every choice you make has a price tag on it. Some of those prices you pay right away, and some of them show up years later when you least expect it. That's the part nobody talks about. They talk about the reward, the rush, the shortcut, the win. They don't talk about the bill that comes due. And trust me, it always comes due. A lot of people convince themselves that one bad decision doesn't matter. Just this once, just to get ahead, just to make things easier. And maybe nothing happens right away, so they think they got away with it. But that's how it starts. One becomes two, two becomes a habit, and before you know it, your life is built on shaky ground. You didn't fall off a cliff. You walked there step by step. The real danger isn't the big obvious mistakes. It's the small ones you justify, the ones you explain away because they're convenient. You tell yourself you had no choice, that circumstances forced your hand, that anyone else would have done the same thing. That kind of thinking is poison. It takes responsibility off you and hands it to excuses. And excuses don't protect you when things go bad. People also forget that bad choices don't just affect you, they affect the people around you. Family, friends, partners, anyone who's tied to you. One careless move can ripple out and damage trust that took years to build. And once trust is gone, you don't just snap your fingers and get it back. Sometimes you never do. That's a cost nobody plans for, but a lot of people pay. I'm not standing here pretending I figured this out overnight. I learned it the hard way. I learned that shortcuts feel good in the moment, but they rob you later. They rob you of peace, of stability, of respect. And the worst part is when you're living with the consequences, the excitement is long gone. All that's left is the weight of what you did and the question of whether it was worth it. Most of the time it isn't. The problem is, we live in a world that rewards speed and flash. Everybody wants results now. Nobody wants to wait, grind, or do things the right way if the right way takes longer. But the right way builds something solid. The wrong way builds something fragile. And fragile things don't survive pressure. And life applies pressure, always. If you really want the next year to be different, you've got to start respecting consequences. Not fearing them, respecting them. You've got to slow down enough to ask yourself, If I make this move today, where does it put me 6 months from now? A year from now? That pause, that moment of awareness can save you from years of regret. So as this year closes out, remember this: the choices you make today are already shaping the life you'll be living tomorrow. Here's the truth, and it's not glamorous, but it's real. Discipline beats excuses every single time. People love motivation because it feels good. It fires you up, gets you excited, makes you think you're ready to conquer the world. But motivation fades. It always does. Discipline is what's there when you don't feel like showing up, when nobody's clapping for you, when quitting would be easier than continuing. Everybody's got excuses. Too tired, too busy, not the right time. Someone else had an advantage. Life got in the way. I've heard them all and I've used a few myself. The problem with excuses is they sound reasonable, and that's why they're dangerous. They let you off the hook without actually fixing anything. You can explain a bad result all day long, but explanations don't change outcomes. Action does. Discipline is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It's doing what you said you were going to do, even when nobody's watching. It's keeping your word to yourself. And that's the hardest promise to keep, because you're the only one who knows when you break it. But every time you do, something inside you weakens. Every time you don't, it gets stronger. People think discipline means punishment or misery. It doesn't. It means structure. It means standards. It means deciding what kind of person you're going to be and then acting like that person, whether you feel like it or not. Feelings change. Standards shouldn't. If you only do the right thing when it's convenient, you're not disciplined, you're comfortable. And comfort doesn't build anything worth having. Look around and you'll notice something. The people who finish strong aren't always the smartest or the most talented. They're the most consistent. They don't wait for the perfect mood or the perfect conditions. They move forward anyway. They understand that progress isn't about big dramatic moments. It's about small, boring decisions made over and over again. Excuses keep you stuck in the same place. Discipline moves you inch by inch, day by day. And those inches add up. That's how real change happens, not overnight, not because you made a speech to yourself, but because you put in the work when it mattered and when it didn't feel good. You've got to be honest with yourself here. How many times did you know what you should have done this year and didn't do it? Not because you couldn't, but because you didn't want to. That's where discipline comes in. It steps in when desire steps out. It carries you when willpower runs dry. If you want the next chapter to look different, you can't rely on hope or hype. You've got to build habits that don't depend on your mood. Wake up when you said you would. Handle what you said you'd handle. Stop negotiating with yourself every time things get uncomfortable. That internal negotiation is where excuses are born. Discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about being dependable. And when you become dependable to yourself, everything else starts to line up because you finally trust the person in the mirror. Let me talk to you about something that shapes your life more than most people realize: who you keep around you. Everybody says loyalty matters, and it does, but not the way most people think. Blind loyalty is dangerous. It feels honorable, it feels strong, but if it's not grounded in truth and character, it can wreck you. I've seen it happen too many times. People stay loyal to the wrong individuals, the wrong ideas, the wrong situations, long after the warning signs are screaming at them. The truth is, not everyone who stands next to you is standing for you. Some people are there because it's convenient. Some are there because they benefit. And some are there until things get hard. That's when you find out who's real. Trust isn't something you hand out because someone's been around a long time or talks a good game. Trust is earned through consistency, through actions that line up over time, especially when there's nothing to gain. A lot of people confuse familiarity with trust. Just because you've known someone for years doesn't mean they deserve access to your life, your plans, your future. People change. Circumstances change. And sometimes the loyalty you think you're showing is really just fear of being alone or starting over. Holding on to the wrong people can be more damaging than walking alone for a while. You've got to be sharp about this. The people around you influence how you think, how you act, and what you tolerate. If your circle normalizes excuses, drama, or bad decisions, that stuff becomes your baseline without you even noticing. You start accepting things you shouldn't. You start compromising little by little. And before you know it, you're living a life you never intended to live. Real loyalty doesn't ask you to destroy yourself to prove it. Real loyalty holds you accountable. It tells you the truth even when it's uncomfortable. It doesn't cheer when you're doing something reckless just because it benefits them. And real trust isn't loud. It's quiet. It's shown in moments when no one's watching, when doing the right thing costs something. You also have to look at yourself in this equation. Are you someone who deserves loyalty? Are you consistent? Are you honest? Do you keep your word? Because trust goes both ways. You can't expect solid people around you if you're not solid yourself. The standard you walk past is the standard you accept. And that applies to people just as much as behavior. As this year wraps up, this is the time to take inventory, not just of what you did, but who you did it with, who drained you, who supported you, who pushed you forward, and who kept pulling you back. This isn't about cutting people off out of anger. It's about choosing your future over familiarity. The next chapter of your life deserves better than misplaced loyalty and borrowed trust. Choose your circle wisely, because the wrong people can cost you everything, and the right ones can help you become who you're meant to be. Here's something I know for a fact, and a lot of people don't want to believe it. No matter how far gone you think you are, reinvention is always possible. But I'm not going to lie to you and tell you it's easy, because it's not. Reinventing yourself comes with a price, and most people aren't willing to pay it. They like the idea of change, they just don't like what it demands from them. The first thing it costs is pride. You've got to be willing to admit that the way you've been doing things isn't working anymore. That's hard, especially if you've spent years convincing yourself you were right, or at least justified. Letting go of that story hurts. It feels like losing a part of yourself. But sometimes the part you lose is the part that's been holding you back the most. Reinvention also costs comfort. You don't get to change your life and keep everything the same. Some habits have to go. Some routines have to change. And yes, sometimes some people don't come with you. That's one of the toughest parts. You outgrow situations and suddenly what felt familiar starts to feel heavy. Staying where you are might feel safe, but it slowly drains you. Growth requires movement, and movement creates friction. A lot of people wait for permission to change. They wait for the right moment, the perfect conditions, or for someone to tell them it's okay to start over. That moment doesn't come. If you want a different life, you've got to decide that the discomfort of change is better than the pain of staying the same. That decision has to come from you, not from pressure, not from fear, and not from desperation. Reinvention isn't about pretending the past didn't happen. It's about learning from it without letting it define you. You don't erase your mistakes, you outgrow them. You use them as reminders, not anchors. There's a big difference. When you carry the lessons instead of the guilt, you move forward stronger, wiser, and more grounded. Another thing people don't talk about is accountability. If you're serious about reinventing yourself, you've got to stop blaming everything else. The system, the timing, other people. Own your part. Not because you want to punish yourself, but because ownership gives you control. If you caused it, you can change it. If it's always someone else's fault, you're stuck waiting. Reinvention also takes patience. You don't wake up one day and suddenly become a new person. It's built through consistent choices, day after day. Some days you'll feel like you're making progress. Other days, it'll feel like nothing's changing at all. That's normal. The mistake is quitting during the quiet part when the results aren't loud yet. As this year comes to an end, understand this: your future doesn't care about who you used to be, only about who you're willing to become. And the moment you decide to pay the price for change is the moment your life starts moving in a new direction. This is where it all comes together, because how you finish something says a lot about who you are. Too many people mentally check out before the year's even over. They coast, they drift, they tell themselves it's basically done anyway. That's a mistake. The way you close out a year sets the tone for what comes next. Momentum doesn't magically appear on January 1st. You carry it with you. Ending strong isn't about fireworks or big announcements. It's about clarity. It's about taking what you've learned, owning what you've done, and deciding how you're going to move forward. Not with wishful thinking, but with intention. Hope is nice, but hope without a plan is just noise. If you want next year to be different, you've got to start acting like it now. This is the moment to tighten things up, clean up loose ends, finish what you said you'd finish. Make the call you've been avoiding. Handle the responsibility you kept pushing off. These things might seem small, but they matter. They build self-respect. And when you respect yourself, your decisions change. You stop settling. You stop making excuses. You start expecting more from yourself. A strong finish also means slowing down long enough to get honest about where you're going. Not where you say you're going, not where you wish you were going, but where your actions are actually taking you. If those two things don't line up, now's the time to adjust. You don't need a dramatic overhaul overnight. You need direction. Even a small correction now can save you miles of regret later. People think planning means locking yourself into something rigid. It doesn't. It means giving yourself a framework, knowing what matters, what doesn't, and what you're no longer willing to tolerate. It means deciding what kind of standards you're bringing into the next year. Standards for your time, your energy, your relationships, and your work. Without standards, you react to everything. With standards, you choose. Ending the year strong also means letting go of what doesn't belong anymore. Old grudges, old habits, old stories about who you are and what you can't do. Carrying that baggage into a new year only weighs you down. You don't need to forg the past, but you do need to stop living in it. The lesson stays, the weight goes. There's something powerful about closing a chapter with intention. It sends a message, not just to the world, but to yourself. It says you're paying attention. It says you're not sleepwalking through your own life. And that awareness is everything. Because when you're aware, you catch yourself before you make the same mistakes. You choose better. You move smarter. So don't rush to turn the page. Finish this year with discipline, honesty, and purpose, because the way you end this chapter is exactly how the next one begins. That's how you stop repeating the same year and start building a different future.